most of you just said, just rip it out, Devin. Just stop. Just stop. Stop trying to make fetch happen and just rip it out. Hey knitters, welcome to episode 236 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me online at Knitty McPurly. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram. And if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. Welcome to the podcast. I am drinking some coffee today out of my Wisconsin mug sent to me by Colleen. Hi, Colleen. It is like the yuckiest weather here in Virginia that you can believe. It's not even that hot, but my plants are like self-watering. The air is watering the plants. That's how thick it is. You could cut the air with a knife. However, I feel fall coming on. Can you feel it? Like not in the air so much, but in like the spirit. Like you can feel the sweaters. You can feel the wool. It's coming. The pumpkin spice. It is headed our way, you guys. Oh my gosh. So I have entitled this podcast, You Were Right. It has been a week, you guys. It has been a week. I feel like a survivor. And I don't even know what from. It's just been kind of a crazy week. But here we are. I will tell that story in the next half hour, if you will journey with me. In the meantime, I am wearing a sweater that I made a couple years ago. Can't exactly remember when. This is from Kim Dye's Yarn. And I just cast on for a fingering weight raglan sweater and then just kept going. I did a line of increases across the shoulder to give the sleeve a little volume. And then in the sleeve, I didn't decrease and I did all the decreases at the bottom. It's just a top-down raglan. Like if you've knit enough top-down raglans, you can just cast on and go. And you can try it on as you go. You can split for the sleeves when you feel like it's the right time. You can kind of wing it if you've done enough of them. And that's what I did with this. It's probably the most similar to my Hepburn sweater. My hair is so different. I got so many great hair compliments last week. Thank you so much for liking my darker hair. Yeah. So when you're bald and you have to regrow a whole head of hair, it's going to go through several iterations. So yeah, anyway. You guys liked my hair. Thank you. I appreciated that. All right, let's move on to progress and shop news. I'm still legit drinking coffee this morning. It's been a slow roll. Yesterday was a really fun, my husband and I just had such a great time yesterday. We just lived it up. And so today we're a little drinking coffee. The KMP Summer Cal ended yesterday, you guys, and there was a huge, for the Knitty McPurly knit-alongs, I mean, they're not huge. They tend to be kind of small, which is why you should enter them because the prize is really good and it's not a huge competition field. So I ended up with 58 entries, and that wasn't 58 separate sweaters. I'm going to do a little video showcasing all of the sweaters. But I'll just tell you that some people use Knitty McPurly yarn. So the entry, knitting the sweater in and following the rules within the time frame, posting it or emailing it to me got you one entry. If you use Knitty McPurly yarn, you got an extra entry. If you used a Knitty McPurly pattern, you got a third entry. So you could have gotten up to 3 entries for one sweater, and some people knit multiple sweaters. So, which is really impressive. I mean, it's super good. So I wanted to make this little video of all of the pictures. The pictures that I got via email, I cut the heads off because I figured if you didn't put your picture on the internet, I didn't want to be the one to put your picture on the internet for you on the podcast. So the heads are cut off of the pictures that I received via email. The ones that I got off of Instagram, I actually wanted to cut the heads off because when it made the movie, it focused on the face, which is beautiful because the glamour shots are just beautiful. I loved them. You guys did such a good job. But we wanted to see the sweater. So bear with me. I couldn't make it work this morning. I was ready to chuck my computer out the window, which I happily did not do. And this is the video of the beautiful sweaters. So this morning I used the random number generator. I made a spreadsheet of all of the entries. And so everybody had the proper number of entries. And I used the random number generator to generate 3 numbers. And the winners are Kimberly Kindle, Tara Talmashu, and Vaughn Ransom. Where's the thing Vaughn made me? It's downstairs. Never mind. Anyway, congratulations. Congratulations, knitters. I have already contacted these folks and emailed them their gift card. Go me for being on top of stuff. Way to go. Knitters, you guys did such a good job. Some of you knit like 3 sweaters, use Knitty McPurly yarn, even maybe knit a Knitty McPurly pattern, and you did not win. And I feel so bad. But really, you're the winner in the end because you have 3 summer sweaters, which is great. I love having summer sweaters because I wear them all summer. And I have a podcast, so I need however many hot weather Saturdays there are in a year. I need that number of summer sweaters. And I don't think I'm there yet. So until I have 52 total sweaters that I can just, replay every year, then it's just not enough. Okay. So great job, knitters, on the knit along. We need to talk about my Vivian tea and what happened. And you might have connected the title of the podcast to the Vivian tea. So last week, I showed you these mistakes that I had right in the front, like right here. Unlivable mistakes. Can't just leave it. Some mistakes you can just leave. I had one in the back. I was going to be okay with it. But these ones, they were going to have to go. So I read through your comments, and many of you kind of were positive about it, like, try it, but don't wait. Try it now, because then if you don't like it, you didn't do all that other knitting, and you could still rip back. Some people were positive about it, and some people were like, girl, just don't. Just hard no. My own mother sent me a text going, don't do the ruffle. She's not even a knitter. Don't do it. It's bad. It's not a good idea. There's so much going on in the sweater. The ruffle would just be too much. And I thought you might be right, but I was willing to try it. I thought, let's try it. So here we go. Okay, so here is the front of my sweater. There's a mistake here, right here, and then there's this line. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to pick up a row right about here and do a little ruffle, and then one about here. Okay, now I did it this way because I wanted to make sure that my line was straight across. It's hard in this sort of a pattern to tell exactly what stitch is what. So I just went through and just lifted one leg of each stitch. So my plan now is to go ahead and pick up and knit 1 stitch into each one of these stitches. And then I will do an increase row, and then just knit a little ruffle. We'll see. I got suggestions too in the comments. Some of you said, what about vertical ruffles? What about the ruffle in a Surrey silk? Like, these are good suggestions. Really, thinking outside the box, thinking, what could I do here that would be interesting, that would serve my purpose of covering the mistake, but look intentional and look good in the end? Many people suggested embroidered flowers, which is a good suggestion. Again, it's the same problem as the ruffle. You're adding busy on busy. Most of you just said, just rip it out, Devin. Just stop. Just stop. Stop trying to make fetch happen and just rip it out. So let me show you the finished product. You guys, I was like legit excited. Okay. I have to go through the entire emotional process of this with you. Because after the podcast, I like fell into like a depression. Like I was in a major funk. Even my husband was like, what's going on with you? And I was like, it's knitting. It's knitting. And it was ridiculous. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go and I'm going to knit these ruffles. And even in the process of that video I just showed you, I was like, this is okay. Like, this is going to be fine. And then I put it on. Look at it, you guys. Like, what kind of a hot mess is this? So I just kind of steam blocked them. Let me make it so it lays how it would lay. I'm not even going to insult you by putting this on. But look at this. This is terrible. What in the hot mess? I mean, just hard no. Hard no. You were right. It was terrible. But here is the problem. I am unwilling to rip it out. And this kind of poses the perennial cable problem for me. I don't do cables very much. I like them, but again, like I said last week, I like the really obvious ones, the ones where it's just that sheet of doop, 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 doop. I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up. And that's why I didn't rip back that first one, because I'm like, I'm going to make more mistakes. This is not the only one that I'm going to make. So what I have decided to do about this sweater is that I am just going to hurl it into a volcano. I Googled active volcanoes near me, and there are no active volcanoes in Virginia, unfortunately. So I guess I will be flying to Hawaii to seek out an active volcano in which I can chuck this project. I'll pull the needles out, obviously, but it's going into a volcano. That's the end. That's where it has to go. Sometimes it comes to this. Sometimes our knitting takes us to the edge of the volcano and we just have to throw it in. So that's where I'm going with that. Now, so I had the funk and then I put the ruffles in. And the funk did not return. I was more like angry, like knitting had done this to me. You know, my own creative brain, my overconfident creative brain took me to this place where I put ruffles on top of cables. And it just went so badly that I was like, all right. So I sought out some potato chip knitting. And I searched and searched because I was feeling lazy and I didn't want to do anything hard, but I wanted the potato chip factor. So as I said last time, I do have that hat on the needles, but I had just finished one. And so that wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was a lot of emotional knitting this week. It was really like, that was what I was seeking out, was something, the knitting to assuage my big, big feelings. And this wasn't it. Oh my gosh, this just brought up a whole new set of big feelings that I also did not want to deal with. So I landed on this thing by Camilla Vad. It is called the Flora Slip Over, and it's real cute. It's color work, but it's very simple. So let me show you how far I got. Now, she is using, it's a DK sweater, but she's using like a mohair and a sport weight together. So what I'm using is the Knitty McPurly Athens alpaca with a Surrey silk. So what I did was I took my two separate cakes. I had Athens alpaca and I had the Surrey silk, and I wound them up together so that it looks like one strand, but really it has both strands there. And it is so soft because the Athens alpaca is super soft and the Surrey silk is super soft. It's very alpaca. And it has a really large gauge. You're using a US 8, and I'm already a loose knitter. So I did not swatch, but I just decided to knit the smallest size and hope for the best, because the recommended ease for the pattern is plus or minus 5 inches. Like you could wear it with 5 inches of negative ease, seems like a lot to me. 5 inches of positive ease would be fine. But I thought if I hit gauge, which I know that I haven't, it would be my exact bust size. So I'd have 0 ease. So I thought, this is going to be fine. I'm going to have plenty of ease. And I ended up, so I chose Jovis. Okay, it's in the floppy stage right now. I've got Jovis, Trinket, and Fontaine, which is significantly more cheerful than what she used, although I like her brown and black and white too. It's only 3 colors. It's so simple because, as you can see, the color work is so easy. You're never working with more than 2 colors. It's not an amazingly written pattern. And I don't mean to throw shade on Camilla. It could be a translation issue, but there is a pretty significant mistake. So the chart to work this pattern is 28 rows. And I worked it like 1.5 times before I split for the armholes. It says to work it 28 times. And it's not just like, oh, she probably meant 28 rows. It has it like 28 times for this size, 32 times for this size, 40 times for this size. And I'm like, I'm not 70 feet tall. So it's just a mistake. There are other things that I think are just translation things where like she'll give a stitch count and she'll give directions for decreasing, because I've just started the back decreases here and they're a little unclear, but luckily there's a stitch count there so that you know what you're doing there. It's definitely not a beginner pattern because she doesn't give any directions for knitting color work flat, which kind of takes directions if you haven't done it before. You have to hold the floats to the front of the work because that's the wrong side when you're working on, the wrong side. So also you're decreasing in such a way that you have to maintain the pattern, and that takes a little thought each row. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, this is how far I am on the decreases here on the back. And you can see it's plenty big enough. It's going to be plenty big enough. It'll have some good ease in there, even though it's the smallest size, because I did not get gauge, which is fine. It's potato chip. It's been really enjoyable. I've really liked it. I started it on like Wednesday. Now yesterday I spent half of the day at my friend's house because her mother-in-law had to move in with them and she needs constant care. My friend couldn't be home, so I sat with her for a couple hours. So I got a lot done yesterday. But it's just really quick. It's been really enjoyable. Not for a beginner knitter. Camilla Vad is like a legit designer. She's not like somebody who just designed one thing. I wonder if this is maybe an early pattern or it's just one that people don't make all that often. And so mistakes have gone unnoticed. But also you can tell how many, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the white circles here. And I only did, mine are yellow, I only did 3. So I'm knitting it not cropped, but just right to like my hip bones. That's my favorite length. So that because if it's too long, I won't wear it. I'll feel like it's overwhelming, and I like things to be more fitted. Like last year when I made those Timbo vests, and the one that's pictured on my website that's orange and that's Roxette and Bosque, I love that one. It fits so well and it's just more fitted and it just looks less frumpy than the other one that I made, which was a little bit bigger. So, because the one in the picture is a little big and that looks really good on the model. But the thing about oversized is that it looks good on people who are very stick thin. I have curves. And so I require something that is a little bit more fitted because it just looks more flattering in my humble opinion. Anyway, this has been really fun. I have really enjoyed doing this. And my volcano decision, I've come to that after a lot of thought and prayer. And, I feel that that's the best way to end this Vivian debacle. It's at the edge of a volcano. All right. Okay. The comments section. Falcor Dexter says, that hair color makes you look so much younger. Now, about your green sweater, suck it up, Buttercup, and rip it back. In the long run, you will be so much happier. Just do it. I think that, you said that before you heard my volcano idea. So, but you're right. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought, let's try it. Now I know. I'm not saying that ruffles are never a good idea to cover something up. Like on something plain, you could totally add ruffles, I think, but it's just too much. Connie Smith, I love your new hair color. I love to knit hats also, and I bypassed the traveler hat. After seeing yours and how it looks on you, I bought the pattern. Thank you for your inspiration. Yay! Because you felt like, of course it looks amazing on Andrea. Everything looks amazing on Andrea. But when you see, and you go and you look at the finished ones that people have done, and they're not on someone's head, and you see the weird points, you're like, well, that's not going to be any good. But when you put it on, the points are absorbed by the negative ease. Katie B says, glamour shots are not easy. I don't know how to pose. My sister was so patient taking photos and photos until I got a few I could live with and posted on Instagram. Here's what I think about glamour shots. And some of you did so amazing. Almost everybody did amazing. And let me tell you, the number one thing that makes your glamour shot look good, smiling. If you are smiling and you look confident, you look amazing. When we see pictures of ourselves, our eyes go directly to those things that we don't like, but other people's eyes don't do that. They don't do that. They look at the fact that you're smiling. So thank you so much to all of you who smiled in your glamour shot. They look so beautiful. And really, that is like the only thing you have to do to look amazing. That's the only thing. Katie says, those needles, the ones I showed last week, are the Pro Takumi and definitely a step up from the regular Takumi needles, which aren't as nicely satin smooth, and they don't swivel. I got lucky buying some Pro Takumi while traveling, and I love them. I've ordered more since and would love it if you stocked them. Yarn Barn in Kansas has them, and I've also ordered directly from Clover, although their shipping was a long wait. Now, everybody's talking about tariffs, you guys. Almost nothing in my shop comes from overseas. The yarn does. It comes from Peru, other than my Virginia yarn, which I will have hopefully October, November, I'm hoping. Yay, I'm so excited for that. I would like to tariff-proof my shop as much as possible for the Americans. 98% of my customer base is in America because of shipping. And, it's so nice when we can support people in our own country. If you live out of the US and you don't buy Knitty McPurly, I totally understand. Shipping, I get it. I totally understand. But for Americans, I would like to tariff-proof my shop as much as possible by buying US-made products and, reselling those when I'm reselling something such as knitting needles. And Katie says, I'm wildly curious about the ruffle and I think you should go for it. Knit it now and see if you love it, hate it, or can live with it, hate it. So I'm glad you guys were right. Continuing on would have been dumb. Sometimes I say things as an extrovert, I process out loud. So sometimes I say things, then I'm like, I don't even know how that thought passed through my mouth and into the world. Darlene Smith says, I really like your hair color, Devin. Perfect for fall. I think your green sweater is beautiful. I think that putting the body on holders and proceeding with your ruffle ideas on the front and sleeves and see first if you like it, then you'll be more excited to see the results. Yes. Janet says, I hosted my monthly knitting group of 8 ladies this morning. In small talk, one lady mentioned using a different yarn for a pattern, but didn't know if it'd work. I said, just use the gauge switcheroo worksheet. Everyone's ears perked up and I had to get out your sheet. Now everyone has a printed copy with your company name at the top. That's awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, Janet. Also, Cheryl's calculator. If anybody uses that, let me know. Let me know if it works. And I'm sure Cheryl's interested too to make sure that it all comes together properly. Rosie Thorne says, I am also so ready for fall winter knitting. I cast on for the DRK Everyday Cardi as soon as it came out. It seemed to take forever to knit, but I began wearing it immediately after binding off and I absolutely love it. I love the tall collar, the shape, the fit. It has some tricky elements, but it is definitely worth every minute. So I'm going to say this, and somebody else said this to me, and I totally agree with that. I just don't remember who it was. that some Andrea Mowry patterns can be kind of boring to knit, but in the end, you have a garment that is so wearable. Like, it's hard to have both, to have the potato chip knit and the super wearable item. Those things exist, but a lot of things that are like everyday staples, they're a little bit boring to knit. But, and I really feel this way about the DRK Everyday Cardi. I really think that'd be something that a person, a knitter, would wear all the time. I'm curious, Rosie Thorne, and anyone else who has knit this sweater, did you use a superwash or did you use something a little toothier? Because I think I want to knit mine in my Virginia woolen spun when that becomes a thing. So let me know what you think. If you think that a superwash is just fine, or if it's better in something a little, tweedier. Okay, let's move on to knitting fantasies. My first pick is from Charlotte Stone, the colorwork sock knitter extraordinaire. I saw these on Instagram and I just fell in love with them. These are the herding cow socks. They are adorable. They're so cute. I can tell by the pattern that you are going to be holding 3 colors together at some points, but it doesn't look like it's very often, and it doesn't look like you're ever holding more than 3. I feel like 3 is my high watermark. I have tried 4. I did a whole slew of podcasts on all the ways I tried to knit with 4 colors, and it's just too hard. Like, it's just, the juice is not worth the squeeze. But if it's a project where you're mostly only holding 2 colors, every now and then you have a third, that's no big deal. These are so cute. I just love them. My second pick is one that I found just doing a little Google search. I'd never seen this before. That's because it has just been published as of August 2025. It is called Keone by Nastasia Hornby, who is like a next level knitter. She's from, I don't know where she's from, somewhere in Europe, like Holland or someplace like that. And this hat, look at the shape of this thing. Look how you knit it. So there's a flat part that sits behind the brim, and then there is another flat part that tucks under. And then it looks like this in the end. It's just a really cool hat design. Not seen one like it. It uses a really nice stitch pattern. It comes in one size, and you hold a lace weight with a fingering weight to get a DK. Now, some people say sport plus a lace will get you a DK. I mean, these things are not, we're talking about wraps per inch in terms of the yarn weight. That's how they determine it. And it's open to interpretation sometimes. But yeah, I think you could also just use a DK weight if you wanted. Really, really cool. I really like it. I did not, it is, I don't know how to say the euros, 4.5 euros, 4 euros and 50 pennies. I don't know. What's change called in euros? Someone from Europe tell me, which is about $5.49 in American dollars. Okay. So here's what happened. I am very, very excited to share this. So here's what happened. This was sent to me by Colorado Lori. Hi, Lori. She sent it to me about a month ago, and I read it at the time, and I just loved it so much. Of course, I didn't respond. I responded to her this morning. I apologize for that, Lori. I get so excited about things, and then I realize I didn't actually convey that excitement through a response. So it's a very July-themed email, a July-themed story, but I think we can still appreciate it even as school is about to start. She says, "Hi, Devin. It's Lori from Colorado. Here is a story for you with my gratitude. This story is entitled, 'The 4th of July Sweater That Almost Wasn't,' or 'Devin Made Me Do It.' Last year, we took our kids and grandkids up to the mountains in Colorado for the 4th of July weekend. A lot of women, including my daughter-in-law, were wearing this sweater from Old Navy. So cute. I thought it was cute, but I had just ordered my Knitty McPurly July color of the month and was brainstorming how I could make my own unique July 4th sweater. So then I ordered some Valentine and Fathom to go with the July color. Then Devin showed us how to knit a garment from our closet and told us that we could do it. I had just knit my first sweater, the Audrey pattern, in March of 2024, and I was in the middle of the Diggory Tee at the time. Wow, I thought, could I really knit a sweater without a pattern? You absolutely can, and she does. Just wait. Fast forward to March of this year, and I had completed a total of 3 sweaters and 2 tees and figured, why not give it a shot? I knew I had to knit it bottom up because I wanted a stripe motif on the front and not the back. I think what she means is not in the round, but she was going to knit it in pieces. I also wanted it to have a split hem with the back longer than the front. So I pulled out my favorite sweatshirt and measured, knit a gauge with my Devin AT KnittyMcPurly and did the math to figure out how many stitches to cast on and began. I'm not well versed in fiber content, so I didn't know how to take into account superwash growing in length beyond my swatch, which as a good little knitter, I had blocked. You know, I don't find that when we're talking about 100% wool, even if it's superwash, I don't find that it grows all that much. Now, in the case of a heavier weight or a longer garment where there's more yarn on the bottom to pull, you're going to get a little bit more stretching. But in just a regular sized sweater, in my humble opinion, even if it's superwash, if it's 100% wool, you're not going to get too much growth. She says, I finished the front and the back, watching Devin's videos over and over and referring to the Diggory Tee pattern for short row shoulder shaping. I felt pretty good about how the front and back turned out. I picked up stitches for the first sleeve, but I had to rip it out twice, and I finally got the stitch count right. Then I played yarn chicken, and the chicken won. Fortunately, I blocked the sweater and tried it on and found it too long, so I was able to rip back and reuse the yarn, another new process I had to learn about for the sleeves. I frogged the front to the length I wanted and re-knit the ribbing, and then I thought, why did I do that when I can just remove the excess on the back and save the ribbing and Kitchener it back on? So I did that. It took me 3 tries to get the neckline right, but I am happy with the folded neckline. And let me just stop before I show you Lori's finished sweater and tell you, this process of trying and it's not right and then ripping it out and trying it again and thinking it through, that is how you learn. That's how you become an amazing sweater knitter. I tell this to my kids all the time. When I was a kid and I was learning how to sew, my mom didn't really sew. And so she could help a little, but not mostly. Most things I just had to figure out on my own. And when you sit there and you thread that machine on your own for the first time and it's right, you know how to do that because you struggled. You're like that lotus flower that pushed up through the muck to get to the beautiful sweater. She says, so let me show you Lori's sweater. Isn't it fabulous? She says, I duplicate stitched the letters on, and yes, it took me several tries to get those right too. I didn't get it done by July 4th, but here are photos from July 10th. I did it. I knit a sweater without a pattern. Thank you, Devin, for believing that I could do this and cheering me on. I felt so empowered that I doctored this photo to show you how I feel. Lori, it's so good. She says, oh, and by the way, I'm not exactly done with it. I still need to weave in the ends, maybe by next 4th of July. Isn't that story so good? I mean, triumph. And she did not exactly start with something simple. She knit it in pieces. It has duplicate stitch. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. Like this, for example, it was just super easy. Like you can't mess this up. As long as you cast on an appropriate neckline amount, and then you just increase till you're done increasing. And then you can just wing it. Something like this, it took a lot more work. And that is something that you can wear every 4th of July. Presumably it's colder in Colorado than it is here in Virginia. This would not fly on the 4th of July where I live. But you can wear that every year and feel so proud of the first time you knit a sweater without a pattern, because presumably there will be many more. You guys, we have reached the end. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have a knitting story, send it to me, Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. That's down below in the, words. if you need to know how to spell it. I would love to hear from you. I hope you have a wonderful week of knitting, and fingers crossed, maybe I'll be wearing my new vest next week. Have a great week, knitters. Bye.